Hello. Welcome back, everybody. It is.
Hello, hello, hello.
There we go. Look at this. For a moment there was nothing happening, and there we go. Moment of insanity from me. Okay, cool. So here we are. Hopefully, people are more happy now, less
Less
waiting.
happy.
Less
Hopefully
happy.
everybody's not happy
Yeah.
because
We don't allow happy people here.
no, that's not what we're about.
No happiness. No happiness. Yeah, it should be fixed in a second, Carl, hopefully. Yeah, cool. Hello. This hand. Hello. I am Mickey, as ever, and I am joined by, yet again, Carlo. It doesn't change, so I don't really know why I'm being like...
Yeah, no
like
need,
that.
no need to announce it.
Yeah, it's not that important. But yeah, here we are, back again. Okay, then. So, how how is everyone doing today? Hopefully everyone's doing well. Carlo, we've. I guess we'll start with the big one, which is actually nothing to do with us really, and it is of course the Team Super League. Hooray!
TSL.
TSL. TSL. You've just finished your game, right? About an hour or two ago.
Yeah, played that just earlier. After last week saying I wanted to have Ben from Blitz Minis, I got Ben from Blitz Minis.
Big man.
And then regretted getting Ben from Blitz Minis when I thought about the reality of actually having to play a very good player who doesn't even have a TTS rating. So, kind of requested and screwed myself over there. But
that's all right.
Yep.
Yeah, so your game ended, didn't it? I believe 7-6, and it came down to a bolt thrower that you had on one wound.
So I played. So I've actually I played another game yesterday, the day before. Day before I played in Skirmish at the Twins, the 30-point tournament. I played one of the closest games I've ever played in that, which came down to the last activation of the round, last activation of the game. Could have gone either way, all on the dice. And I thought, whoa, that's the closest, one of the best games I've ever played. And then today, this game was somehow a ton closer. We played 2 full rounds where every single dice roll mattered at the end. I guess the quick synopsis of the game would be: we're playing Fire and Blood. I'm playing Night's Watch. I'm playing my Othel list, which some people have seen, which is a bit memey. It's got Crossbowman with Pippa. It's got a Scorpion, and then it's got triple conscripts with Senior Builder.
Mm-hmm.
Ben is playing Free Folk, and he chooses his Style list, which is the lower activation count, pretty good into the Fire and Blood game mode, and runs the Bone Lord's Chosen as well with Rattleshirt. So pretty hard hitting unit there. And I think that my synopsis of the game would be: I think that I have the advantageous list advantage there in that game mode. So he has to come to me because I have more points on the board. That's number one. So I get to defend, and I think that's super important in Fire and Blood. And super important for my list, particularly because obviously I just want to stand and shoot. I want to play relatively gun line. He does have a big win in that he has skin changers in both his lists. He has a skin changer in this list, which allows him to play Eagle, which will completely negate nearly all of my my builder conscripts.
Senior Builder.
My Senior Builder conscripts. So the stakes aren't going to do as much as I hope, but it was a brilliant game. I score some early points by putting some pressure on him, and then he makes a really big Bone Lord's Chosen play. And basically by the 4th round, I'm winning by quite a few points, but I know that the entire game is going to revolve around whether or not I can stop myself from being tabled, because that's the way it's going to go. And literally by the last round, the last activation of the last round, I have a Scorpion left on 1 wound after it's just been attacked by Bone Lord's Chosen multiple times. There's trappers charged in. They're trying to do everything they can, and it keeps coming down to basically whether or not I can roll well on my. I have Shields That Guards the Realms of Men on. I have money bags for a couple of rounds, and I'm just blocking most of the hits. To say it came down to the last dice roll is a massive lie, because it came down to every dice roll for the past 2 turns could have changed the game either way.
Yeah.
I will say, though, I think that I had the advantage in that game mode. I win the game 7-6. And if Ben can take one more wound off me, I get tabled and I get a crushing defeat. And I really will say that I think Ben played better than me. I think I had the advantage, and I threw it away on a couple of times with some inexperience with the Night's Watch, and he played really, really well. And he was very unlucky, and also very gracious, and sometimes allowing me to go slightly back in time order because of misplaying something.
Oh,
so
wow.
he was both generous in allowing me to do that, and also basically I think he played better than me. So it's very fortunate that I got away with that win.
When you sent me this picture up on screen earlier, and he's like, "This is what it was like for the last two rounds of the game, pretty much." I was like,
pretty much, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm really lucky that I'm really lucky in this situation that the Bone Lord's Chosen. They're on 1 rank. I don't take panic tests, and I can't fail panic tests. So a ton of what the Bone Lord's Chosen's damage is negated, and even more importantly, he can't heal and get back up to more ranks and start to gain more damage. He actually makes some really interesting plays in the last round where he uses regroup and reform multiple times to keep moving his models from one unit to the other every time it activates. So it's like he activates the Bone Lord's Chosen, throws all the trappers into the Bone Lord's Chosen to get to 2 ranks, makes an attack, and then he activates the trappers and throws all the models back into the trappers so that they have 1 more rank. And it literally comes down to he makes 2 hits with the trappers. I roll a d3 for Shields That Guards the Realms, and I block 2 hits, and it's done.
Game.
That's it. That's his last chance, and it was super, super close.
Nice. I see George asking me about how my game went. Carlo watched that one. I was playing against NEN. I'll be honest with you, I think he misdeployed. He deployed his Knights of Castle Rock and the Mountain that Rides perhaps too close to me. My first move of the game was to use the Harmer card, force march forward with a unit of trappers, and shoot the mountain with Styre. And I nearly killed Styre in literally the first activation of the game. I nearly killed the Mountain that Rides. And by the second activation of the game...
He's dead, all except for Joffrey blocking auto wounds,
yeah,
which is going to be one of his very important cards to keep the mountain alive, basically, throughout the game.
And then because you played that card, I could panic the Castle Rock, and my second activation of the game was to put Mance onto the Castle Rock on letters, meaning that the Knights of Castle Rock did nothing. And I was able to...
So it's an interesting reversal of the game. Remind me what your opponent's name is again?
NEN Studio.
NEN, yeah. So yeah. NEN is playing a 2 NCU setup with Joffrey. So again, we have this situation where the Free Folk have to attack. This is one of the reasons why the Free Folk don't win that often in Fire and Blood, is that they often are playing 9 or even 10 points in NCUs, whereas often the other faction is playing about 8. They're playing maybe 2 4-point NCUs and possibly a free commander NCU. Mm-hmm. So the Free Folk have to attack, and NEN's decided it's actually quite an interesting deployment. He's decided he's going to put Mountain That Rides and Knights of Castle Rock right up 18 inches deployed forward. And then he's actually going to deploy all of his other infantry on the back line, way back in his own deployment zone. So he's actually basically faking with his first 2 deployments that he's going to be aggressive, and then he always intends to retreat. And it is an interesting strategy, except what he's overlooked is that if Mickey can pick up a single victory point by killing the mountain, and the mountain is definitely killable, then all of a sudden, now NEN has to come and attack Mickey. And it's a complete role reversal, and he set his infantry so far back that once Mickey managed to kill the mountain, which happened first activation of the second round, I think, in the end.
It was
after
actually
having like
it was actually the third round, I think, or it was close to second. I brought the Spearwives. Was it actually the end of the second? I brought Spearwives.
The point is NEN retreats to the back line, but he has not good deployment to now come back out and attack once Mickey has gained a single VP, which he manages to do. He manages to kill the mountain, and all of a sudden NEN has to be the aggressor, and basically Mickey's now allowed to be the defender again, and NEN hasn't really prepared for that moment. He's set up in such a way that he's going to defend the whole game, and it's interesting. It is interesting the way Fire and Blood goes. You can be quite defensive if you're the person who has less points spent on NCUs, therefore having more points on the board. But if you give up a VP, then you have to be prepared to know that suddenly you have to come out now.
Yeah, definitely. It also did help. I mean, he went through 2 or 3 defensive cards straight away in the game. The Joffrey saving wounds. Tycho was spent on the second, I think. The very first thing of the second round was he spent Tycho because he needed to heal like 2 wounds.
Yeah, so then you managed to achieve like overlapping trappers on the mountain. Like there were multiple things that could kill the mountain, and like he managed to block quite a few of them, but he's going to end up burning up the resources that he needs in some clutch situation to keep him alive, and eventually he's going to go down. And you'd mark the mountain as well very intelligently, knowing that the mountain was actually a relatively easy kill. The mountain is suddenly worth 3 VPs, and now he's in a hole. Definitely. But it was very interesting game to watch. Quite an interesting strategy, and just interesting that the 2 games that we played were similar but like mirrors of each other, and that I managed to defend continuously. Mm-hmm. Whereas you were able, as the attacker, to get in there, kill something, and then become the defender. But because I have so many ranged units, once I've drawn Ben into attacking me, he can't actually retreat anymore and become the defender. I'll just stand there and shoot him. I'll just stand and
so he's got to go all in.
Ben can't come in and pick up an easy point and then get back out in the way that you did. And I actually, every time he comes at me, I just like shoot more and shoot more and shoot more. And then once he's so fully engaged in it and he's like so committed to this fight, I just have to survive.
You do not have cards. Oh no, you do have cards. You do, yeah, because you decide first player first, and first player.
Because you decide first player after you. Yes, so you decide first player after you draw cards, and you decide what to mark once you know who first player is.
Yeah. So obviously I mark the mountain straight away, force march unit trappers. I don't really care if they get weakened. I'm literally just doing it for the free shot from Styre. And yeah.
So yes, Mickey had seen that he had force march, but actually we'd already discussed the game and the strategy beforehand, and that the mountain was always going to get marked.
Yeah.
Even if the mountain hadn't been a target up on the front line, the mountain was always going to be marked because you don't want him to be able to throw the mountain away. You want the mountain's the easiest thing for a free folk army to pick up on. Between Styre's auto wounds, Trapper auto wounds, and things like that, the mountain actually is an easy pickup, as he should be for 4 points. Every other one of his combat units costs like 8 points, so you'd expect the mountain to be the easiest one to kill.
Definitely.
More importantly, way more importantly, the Humble Onion Smugglers are 2-0.
2-0.
Thanks to some lucky dice on my part and some strong play on Mickey's part.
Yeah. The way I see it currently is Gendry's rowboat, who's got me, is absolutely storming ahead. Just talking to Carl before this went live. Gendry's rowboat in the fantasy. Now, actually, he's had 2 players play. Corin, who's also on my fantasy team. He also played. He lost, but apparently played a really close game as well. Don't know what happened in it, but Corin's quite popular on the Discord. He posts a lot. He's a big Night's Watch player. And he said it was one of the best games he's ever played. Like, literally one of the best games he's ever played. So yeah, League B, it's shaping up. #B for better. So Gendry's rowboat currently leading the fantasy, but I think that's all going to change as the week goes on. So this
So
is only the
far-
first couple of days.
So far, 4 submissions from the TSL since it started just
Literally
24 hours
yesterday
ago or
afternoon.
whatever.
Yeah, 24. About.
Yeah. It's been 2 Easterosi. Is it Easterosi or Westerosi? Easterosi
Easterosi water dances.
Easterosi water dancers. Westerosi water dancers. Westerosi water
Easy.
dancers.
Easterosi water dancers. Westerosi warriors. It's Easterosi water dancers.
Westerosi warriors. Easterosi water dancers.
Yes.
The Easterosi water dancers have taken on the Game of Thrones boys? Question mark. And we saw Larks versus Gamma 016 kick us off with the stream yesterday. And there's also been another game. I forget who that was. Was that Felix Frerin?
Felix versus Corin was the other one.
Felix versus Corin.
Yeah.
And they've gone 1-1. And the Humble Onion Smugglers so far are 2-0 over Go Big or Go Home.
It's worth noting. It's definitely worth noting at this point though that it's the worst 2 players on Humble Onion Smugglers that have played. I mean, technically, me and Carlo have never won anything really major. We've still got Stannis and Van to play.
He's out the way.
I'll be honest with you, I don't think Stannis is going to win. I think Stannis is garbage. He's not listening. It's fine.
Well, I mean, he's been tanking his rating recently. He tried to play the same Stark versus Baratheon in Game of Thrones matchup 4 times in a row to see if he could win it, and turns out he couldn't. No, it's not a good matchup for him. So
I know you crushed him, didn't you?
Props to him for recording him every time, but still.
You crushing Wyndham first. I think I crushed and Wyndham next. Then Van crushing Wyndham. Then the actual game he played against the Viper or Gasusa, our top-rated TTS player, it was a crushing win again, I think. So yeah. Stannis has really been not doing well.
That's gonna hurt a rating. That's gonna hurt a rating.
Anyway, less about us. I do want to obviously give a shout out to George and the stream Larks versus Gamma yesterday. That was I wasn't really watching. I was semi-dipping in and out. I was doing some other things, playing my own game for starters.
Playing your own game.
And we just heard that Tonio Scorpio versus Mr. Machete, which is a great name. I love Mr. Machete. But yeah, so I'm really looking forward to seeing some more results.
Larks played Gamma. Larks played Gamma.
Yeah.
What a start to the TSL. Whew.
Yeah, man. He got unlucky, right? He got unlucky? No, I think Gamma.
All right. People, some people are going to take exception to what I say, so I'll be real careful with my wording here, right? There are times in that game where Gamma gets pretty lucky. Like he makes some big rolls. Let's think about them. He makes some Tyrion, the Tyrion Order counterplot ones on a 5+. Couple of there's a few of them he makes. On one turn he ditches quite a lot of cards to do it, so that one's fair enough. There's a couple of others that he makes. At the top of round 4, I think, maybe off the top of my head, I was actually watching you play and them play at the same time, so I wasn't always 100% focusing on their game. He makes a relatively long charge with his halberdiers to save the game as the last action of the round, otherwise he's going to lose 10-6. Of course he could fail that charge. Of course you can say that is lucky. But at that point right there, he has no other option. So of course he has to take the roll of the dice.
Definitely.
He's got no other choice. Like, it's not bad play to take on a risky charge.
Well, he identifies. Being the right word, he identifies.
It's not risk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. 3+. I thought it was actually a 4+ charge. I was only semi watching. So 3+ isn't even that risky a charge. Of course, it's not guaranteed. And when it's his only option, of course he's going to make that play. So that's what it is. I think I'll be very particular with this wording there. So there are some points where Gamma gets lucky. Gamma makes some mistakes in the game. Probably the oversight in Motivated by Coins, probably one of the biggest ones.
Yeah. Which
results in the Rickon Stormcrow Mercs destroying his unit where he otherwise thought that he wasn't going to get killed. And he makes some mistakes, but I also believe that Larks made a significant number of small errors or what I believe was entirely too timid during the game. He was not willing to take a single risk to seal out the win because he had multiple chances where he could have guaranteed himself a win if only he was willing to take a very small risk. And yet he decided instead to continuously retreat from halberdiers on the off chance that they might score massive more hits than they're supposed to averagely score. For me, he definitely made mistakes that allowed Gamma back into the game, despite Gamma's own mistakes. And I've watched Lox play, and I think Lox has played better in other games.
I think I will shout this out and say to Gamma, what Gamma recognised, and I think this is so important. Yes, he made his own mistakes. He recognised throughout that entire game how to capitalise on the mistakes that Larks made. And as a result, he won the game. It's as simple as that. I'm not going to sit here and say that either player played badly, because they didn't. Both players played incredibly well from what I saw. But Gamma came away and he played better. On the day, he played better. He may have got a little bit more lucky, but he played better. And I think that is a justifying win.
So, interestingly, Killja says so that the biggest lucky part was that Gregor survived the Tully charge. And yes, that is quite an unlikely occurrence to happen. But that's in round 2, I think. I think it's round 2. I mean, like, that was the start of the game. Things were really, really slow at the start, really cagey. This is in round 2. And there were many situations in rounds 4, and even in round 5, I still believe he had opportunities to win. And he didn't take them. So that's why I say he didn't lose because of luck. No, of course he could have been considered in a bit of a hole because that charge didn't go the way he felt and stuff like that. And yes, the game can go totally different. But there are many opportunities for him to win the game later on, and he throws them away. So to say he lost because he was unlucky is very much not true. He lost because he didn't take the opportunities to win, which he had later on in the game.
I think it's a bit disingenuous to Gamma's work as well. I think Gamma put in some really good work in that game.
Gamma played very, very well. Much better than I expected. I mean, we're talking about this game partly because it was a massive upset. Lox is currently the second highest rated player on the TCS rankings, the highest in the tournament because the Viper hasn't entered the team tournament. And Gamma had, a not high 1350 rating, which is below the 1500 rating that you come in with. Though personally, I think that anybody sitting around, like, I would say that players around the 13 something, 14 something mark are probably better players than a lot of the 1500 players. The 1500 players just don't have any record, whereas the 13 something players have probably played in multiple other TTS tournaments before. And they've done averagely well, but slightly below average. They've lost a few points, but they haven't lost tons of points, and they've actually got a record of them winning in the past. They've got a history of playing in these tournaments. And yeah, Killja asking, is that the Viper? We don't think it is the Viper. It's not he of AoE 2 fame, but unfortunately. But yeah, Gushasha recently changed his name from Gushasha to Viper.
But yeah, no, so that's TSL.
It was a really, really brilliant game, and it was exciting to watch in the last couple of rounds. Very slow start, but it's definitely worth a watch. But I feel for Larks because he was playing on a laptop while camping, so that's a very valid and reasonable excuse why he might have not played his very, very best game. But I don't think he played his best game, and I think that he was
outplayed on the day.
Outplayed,
Definitely.
Yeah. Outplayed in the end.
Yeah. No, so big grats to Gamma.
Really interesting start.
Big grats to Gamma, and it's always interesting to see, inverted commas underdogs, in these stats-based thing. I think the underdogs
stats were about 90% confident that Larks would take that win.
Yeah. Everything from
based on the
matchup
ELO
to
rating. So
yeah.
quite a big change of faction, change of rankings coming in. The game hasn't been verified yet, so it hasn't been applied to Lark's rating. He might drop from number 2.
He might do. Okay then, so that moves us on from the TSL. It was obviously a great event so far. It seems like people are enjoying it. We will see how it goes, obviously.
Can't wait to get more games in, a lot of hype, a lot of team spirit, a lot of be for better spirit, all that kind of stuff. So
and more memeing.
It's good to have loads of attention and loads of people playing. Really, really happy with how it's going so far.
Definitely. And we've been memeing it up in the group, haven't we, today? Hugely.
Oh, yes.
We always do. That's
what our team's really about.
Yeah.
Our team's here for the memes.
And mainly shouting at Stannis for having terrible ideas that he thinks Baratheons are good. That's a lie. Baratheons are actually quite good, I think. But Stannis is terrible. He's a terrible player. This Renly's good, man. Come on. He always defends Renly. Oh, you know that doesn't go well down.
Yeah,
down
but we convinced him to play Courtney Penrose and Davos instead. So you know, we're the big winners.
We are. All right, we'll shut up about that though. It is great, but it does actually link us onto something else that's kind of related to TSL. It's also obviously massively related to what we do over at Stats. And that is the new TTS export that we've been using. Hopefully everyone here knows it. Hopefully everyone in here has seen it. I will quickly show you me setting this up. So I'll quickly load up my TTS. I'll just create a solo game and use this. But what you can do is, let's just go and choose a random list. I'll use this one. It's Gold on Dice list from Gashusha. I thought I'd copy it just to make sure it would work. It's a pretty good list. So we can hit this new TTS export. So for those of you that don't know, you can load the list directly from, you save lists here. Don't click on the load, which allows you to change it, obviously. You want to click on the actual title of the list. Takes you to the list. Export the list by hitting the button. Then in the game, and let me just get this working properly.
Never gonna work.
Never works. Should have prepped.
Never gonna work. Here we go. We're all about to disappear.
All about to disappear. There we go. And if I just drag it down here, somewhere down here. There we go. Oh, hey! And we'll hide that. And we'll hide that briefly. There you go. So we can see in the game, I'm going to quickly jump over to this little army import here. And I'm just going to Control V. I'll get the unique code. You can just copy the unique code from your browser, of course, as well. Spawn army. And give it a second. Bang. Done. In. Let's go. Let's play. It's...
Don't hit it twice or they spawn on top of each other.
Yeah, I'll show you what happens.
Give it a second to spawn.
I will show you what happens. It causes all kinds of chaos.
Oh no! Look at them jingle. For whatever reason, they all start to like jingle jangle because they're like inside each other and they're all trying to.
They're also attached.
Things go bad.
I've got At
that point, you just have to delete. You just have to delete them all and spawn again. They're somehow alive. Look at them. They just keep going.
The brilliant thing about this is it's not our fault that it's rubbish. It's bartender's fault that it's rubbish. Yeah. But it's completely our fault that it's amazing.
It is 100% bartender's
issue.
Bartender's work. 99% bartender's work. 1% my work. I just so basically what it does is it goes and asks a Song of Ice and Fire stats for what that list is. That list doesn't have to be your list. You can export anybody's list. You can go to a tournament and you can click on anybody's lists and go to a link of them. And you know, so I could go into the I can even go into an old tournament which I've backdated, like NRG, and I can just click on somebody. I can go to the list and I can export it to TTS. It doesn't need to be mine at all. I can view other people's list. I can export other people's list. We can just pick the tournament champions list and play with it. We can even go and find an old game that we played or anybody else played. We can get the two lists and we can replay the matchup. And we just export the two lists into it. And suddenly we can, like, say, Remember that time that Ariakas absolutely smashed Stannis, Thousand Lord Commander, the humble onion smuggler himself. Hey Mickey, do you wanna play that game and see if we get the same result?
Yeah.
And we can just go find that result in either of those players' history and just export those 2 lists and say, you know what, let's just play.
Yeah.
So that's all thanks to Bartender.
Massively.
It was a new way of doing it. It's a totally different way that's really integrated into TTS rather than trying to be controlled by a Song of Ice and Fire stats.
Yeah.
Song of Ice and Fire stats just provides you with the information, but TTS does all the work.
Yeah. It's definitely something that we hope is going to be a massive help for players as well. I've had to help, and I'm sure other people here have done it before, but help numerous players with the exporting and then finding the right files and dumping it into the right place and knowing where to get it from.
I've done it tons of times, and honestly, I still used to find it hard to find where my saved object file is. I used to have to search for it every time.
You are literally useless at computers.
I used to do it infrequently enough that every time, it was 2 weeks later. It's 2 weeks since I last exported the list, or last tournament I entered was 3 weeks ago. So it always seemed like a chore to me. So that's why I wanted to work on it.
Yeah.
Also, it actually opens up. I don't want to make any promises for Bartender when we haven't even really started on it that much, but actually it also opens up the idea that we can possibly looking at working on also doing the submission back to the site through TTS as well. So you don't have to leave TTS to submit the game, at which point it would then record what lists you use. It will record your VPs directly from the VP score tracker and stuff like that, and you'll be able to do a submission without ever leaving TTS, without having to fill in the data.
There's also,
but that's early days, and that's the kind of integration that we're looking for to be to make it easier for the users. It's what it's all about, making a good, easy experience.
We've also had ideas as well. We've been talking about random lists, haven't we? And how we can.
Yeah.
Now that we've got the seeding working, we could actually create a set of random lists that the game can ask from, which has some problems which we haven't resolved just yet, of things like incomplete lists and things. But certainly an idea that I've got, which I haven't floated with Carlo yet, but I am about to float with now, is the idea of literally a random list tournament where you get 2 players load into a game, and there could be, say, 30 or 40 lists that the TO builds before the tournament, and just says, right, you can just play. I want you to play a tournament, and you just randomly get a list from that list of lists every game. And if you get the same matchup, if you get a mirror, well, tough. You've got a mirror. Go and win it.
Actually, to be honest, I was thinking what would be similar line. I was actually thinking that'd be really interesting to just straight up play random list mirrors. So you both just pull a single random list and you both play it. Yeah. And then and so it's never based on who randomly got the best list or anything like that. It's literally, you've got the same list, you don't get to build it, you just find out what it is, and then you both try and play it better than your opponent. I think that's another really cool idea.
Definitely. You can just ignore me if you're watching the stream now. I'm just building fan favourite Vargo lists to save on the site, so when people randomly get Vargo,
just fill it with more Vargos. Just Vargos. So the way the random collection, the random list would work is it would just ask for any list from the hundreds that are saved on the site, and it would just say give me one that is 40 points. I want a 40-point list, and you just get given the list. So the more lists you save, the more there would be raffle entries. Every single one's a raffle ticket into the random list entry. So every one is another one that you might pull. So if you've got a favorite list, build it 500 times, and it'll be 500 of the lists in the random list builder.
There we go. I've already got 2.
Don't do that because it'll actually slow the system down.
There you go. I'm just
more.
there you go. I've badly spelt George. That's bad. But George's and Bruce's, I know that they're in the chat at the moment. I should probably make Makistas as well, shouldn't I, while I'm here? Yes, you can tell me I'm a terrible list builder, but that's kind of the point. Here's a good detachment. Let's give you Ramsey. He's great. And a Dreadful Captain. There you go, Makista. You can have a different take. Anyway, there's me. That's what I'll be doing on Saturday, saving more Vargo lists. Right, anyway. So that's the TTS export covered, the TSL covered. We've got a little one to promote, a tournament to promote, haven't we, as well?
Yeah.
Which is, if I find it a second, Wolves Howling event, which
Wolves
is
Howling.
Furioku who's running it. You obviously, most people here have probably heard of Furioku. If not, guy from Poland is running it. It's a charity event, which I didn't realise the first time. Yep. It is a charity event. And I don't know, because unfortunately the English on this is not great. Well, I'll quickly load it up. Do it. I think it will be fine. I don't know what charity this is for, but I think it's something to do with children and like helping ill children, I think. You can tell it's all in Polish. I don't read Polish.
Do you not? Come on,
No.
Mickey.
No. So
I obviously could if only it was bigger on my screen.
I think it's
Wolves Howling. More importantly, it's a great event. Furioku's put up quite a big prize, which he won in a different event and is now passing on. There is no entry fee. It is for charity. If you want to give something to the charity, then that's great. It can take up to 64 players. It's on TTS.
Specifically.
And the sign up finishes this weekend. So because of a lot of other big high profile TTS events going on at the moment, the sign ups for it have been quite slow. But I think that definitely people should get involved because it's another great event. And the lists are going to get locked in about a week's time. I will be joining up myself and competing. And I think, if you've got time, then join the event. It's as simple as that. Play more TTS, and this is another free event run by somebody who's getting out there in the community and giving something back. So, yeah. Just wanted to say it's there, and give it a go.
70 quid for balls and swords. 70 quid.
As things stand, you're playing against like 12 other people for a £70 prize. So I mean, he's giving away about £5 to £10 per person.
He did ask me if I wanted to put my my balls and swords prize up for it, which I was umming and ahhing because, to be honest, they've got nothing I want to buy at the moment. Not because balls and swords is bad, but there's no new releases, right? That's a sore point. We won't go into that. Anyway.
I want some. They've just released some new Arkham Horror decks. I want Arkham Horror.
Good man. Arkham Horror is a great game.
I just saw Boards and Swords put a post up about it today.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. All right. Anyway,
great store, by the way. I've been down there, and they do really good stuff. Do good in-person events.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it's also knockout.
It's knockout.
It's also a knockout event. So you don't even have to commit to it for 5 weeks. It's just, you're in it to win it.
Mm-hmm.
Get in there, play a game. If you're winning, then stick with it. And if you're not, then, well, you're done. And no big loss.
Yeah. Except your stats, obviously. Right. So that was Wolves Howling. We've also got it's not up on the site yet, is it? Another semi-big announcement for those of you who are European-based. The infamous Masters of Westeros 2, the second installment of the Masters of Westeros.
I'm sorry. Camille's just absolutely slayed me that the best, if you're actually out for making money out of Song of Ice and Fire, then the best way is to just find bugs with the builder. Very true. I probably gave away a lot of prizes in a 24-hour period there. Yep.
Well, it's just all the company, isn't it?
Yep.
Master of Westeros 2 is going to be run through the site. For any European players, Masters of Westeros is the largest. Was the largest known A Song of Ice and Fire event in the world, right?
Ever run.
100 odd players, 100 player event. I think most of them.
I think it ended up in 96 or something like that.
Yeah, 96.
Yeah. And
all the
so
stats.
it's bigger than any TTS event as well. I mean, like even when you don't have to physically get everybody into the same room, we still can't get 100 people together. So
yeah, we got close to it with the builder, right? But not actually over that.
Builder might have been able to if it hadn't capped itself, but yeah, still biggest event ever run. Master Westeros 1.
And Masters of Westeros 2 is coming to the site October this year.
It will be up through the site. We have confirmation. It's just not up yet.
So list submissions will be going
brilliant.
up. You'll see the whole lot going up. We'll be able to take full stats now that the list builder is working. All of the lists will be saved up. They'll be legal. You know, we'll be able to take full stats from it. This is where we have wanted to go for a while now, in terms of like integration and getting out there into physical tournaments. I think it's going to be massive, and I think we're going to see some really interesting stats. And you can obviously see me and Carlo probably doing a bit of a special event after that event goes live, going through a load of breakdown on a load of different things.
So it's really great to be able to get those physical events onto the site, because that's what it's all about. The physical tabletop rankings, they still need some big tournaments, or they need a lot more games in general to like really grow and progress. Currently, Brett is #1 ranked because of his win from Laughter is Poison.
I'm #4.
Van is currently #2 ranked from the fact that he's running a tabletop league in Indonesia at the moment. And I would guess that if he continues to win the league, it's got quite a few rounds in. If he continues to win the rest of the league, he will overtake Brett and will be #1. But a big event like Masters of Westeros, whoever wins that event will almost without a doubt become #1 ranked player. They will end up somewhere around 1750 ranked, at least 1700 ranked off the top of my head, over like a 7-8 round event against other high-ranked players, because don't forget that in a tournament format like that, every round you're playing against other winners who are other players who have a higher ranking with you, and that's how you get a really good ranking. And that will just be the big kickstart that we need to really get those tabletop rankings into something that's starting to catch up to the way that the TTS rankings are, which is getting there in terms of like you can predict how good a player is by their ranking up at the top, less sure at the bottom. There are lots of very good players down towards the bottom, I think, who are underranked. But if you're good, you probably there aren't many players with a false high ranking. I would put it that way.
So that George guy, right? George is #11. He's terrible.
Ooh, throwing shade. We'll see.
No, I think you're right. I think everyone, anyone who's at least probably 1600 or more, I'd even go and say is 1570 probably, are players who deserve that ranking that they've got, including George. I'm not just taking the piss.
Not including Mickey. He's not there.
I'm not there, am I? Because I lost a game as Targs, which is terrible. I shouldn't. I'm close. I'm #25. Working my way up something. I just have to challenge George, clearly.
Hey, speaking of, so that means that is an unintentional segue into the TTS Masters tournament, which is running. I forget what date I set. It must be. What have I given people? I've given people like another 2 weeks or something before the next cutoff for the next 4 highest ranked players.
It's pretty depressing. I know that.
As it stands right now, when did I say it would be?
5th of the next month. So about 10 days.
Yeah, 10 days. You got 10 days. In 10 days, I will invite 4 more players to join the original 8. So the first half of the tournament was just like the top ranked players when I decided to create the tournament. The next 4 will be in 10 days' time. I can tell you now that right now that would be the border. He was not in the top 8 back then. Psychopath
he was.
He is. So it's Crag, Open City, and Mahoney Slaw are currently the 4 players who will make it in as of right now. But like you are talking a 5 points plus or minus for the next like 5 players, all of which you could be just overtake them with 1 game, 1 win, 1 loss. Those players, they're either up there or down there. So submit your results, and we'll see who's in. We'll see who's in another knockout format tournament, 16 players, a really swift event, but it will be really, really high skill level.
That's the
and
plan.
I'm super excited for it.
Definitely. I think it's going to be good. I enjoy it. Looking forward to that. And obviously, we'll be bringing you coverage and all the rest as you'd expect. All right. Well, believe it or not, I'm just going to take a moment here, guys. We've been streaming for 45 minutes. A little bit more if you count the fact we started a little bit earlier today, and people complained that we weren't actually live at the right time. I apologise. We've gone 45 minutes, and we've covered everything.
Whoa. Mental. Craig Norek, off the top of my head, that's Grislug, right?
Yeah, that's Chris, yeah.
Grislug's asking, he gets extra if he wins with Targs. Yes.
You do. Let's have a look at the faction rankings.
Factional ELO ranking is taken into account on every game submission, and Targs have perennially been the bottom, so you are always getting more points or losing less points by playing with Targs at the moment.
Clearly, I need to just play Targs against George's Free Folk. That's the way to do it, right?
Or you can win with Night's Watch versus Free Folk.
Big man
plays in the TSL.
I'd just like to point out Lannister, this last week actually. Let's talk about the faction rankings briefly.
Yeah,
this last week,
we got 15 minutes.
We've actually seen quite a lot of changes in the faction rankings. Now we took a snapshot, and we were talking about it, and we were saying, right, well, Stark are up there, obviously. They were third at the time though, with Free Folk, a couple of points, maybe 10 points ahead. But Lannister were another couple of points ahead of the Free Folk.
Lannister, right where they deserve. Wearing my Lannister t-shirt today.
Yeah, well, they're rubbish. Yeah, so yeah.
So yes, so that's interesting. I think I would, I don't want to harp on about it, but I would think that is a large part due to there being a significant increase in the amount of tournaments and general submissions that are allowing the mountain that rides. You can win with Lannisters without the mountain that rides. You can lose with Lannisters that include the mountain that rides.
Definitely.
But as a general whole, he does just push their win rate that bit higher, pushes it up just enough that they start to push up the power rankings, that they have a real shot at being number one. When you consider his inclusion, they should definitely be in. You should definitely be talking about Lannisters as one of the top tier factions.
I agree.
And it's proven again and again from the Hall of Champions, which when the Mountain That Rides is included, players win tournaments.
I think Lannisters, no one should be surprised the fact that Lannisters are up there. They're one of the oldest factions, and they are a good faction with or without the Mountain That Rides. But, oh look, technically, these guys, wow. Power Spot and Cutthroat, surprisingly large win rate. And 15 results as well is not terrible. Interesting.
Yeah, not insignificant amounts. So this is what the new builder advice does. Players can see their win rates, but you see how popular they are, both in terms of how often they're picked and also how many results in total we're talking about. So that's for players to make their own judgment about how significant certain rankings are, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Working on showing you, hopefully it'll be up really soon, I'll be able to show you for each of these units how often certain attachments are picked and what those attachments win rates are inside of those units. So that's the next thing that's coming in the next few days. And it's just it was a little bit fiddly for the first time around. I wanted to get out there and kind of see how people used it and see if it was any good before I started going to the second level.
I was doing this earlier though. Interesting thing, Tycho, I know it's only 20 games, but Tycho has a 70% win rate with Lannisters. Something that me and you talked about in the NRG event when we first took stats. Absolute garbage. But now apparently not too bad.
So I think, so off the top of my head, I think his large majority of his inclusion is with Joffrey as commander, where he has a similarly high win rate and good set of use. Yeah. So we could see that, for example, if you went out of the advice and you went into the commander and picked Joffrey, and then you go back to the advice now, it will have already filtered by games that only include Joffrey. So however many games are listed now, they're Joffrey only lists. And yeah, it might be 20 out of 20 as
16 out of 20 with the Tycho.
So yeah, and his win rate still the same?
Actually gone down a bit.
Okay,
It's gone down from 70 to 68.
So there are 4 results. There are 4 results which use Tycho in Lannisters outside of Joffrey, but I mean, like the majority, the big weight of that data is from a Joffrey Lannister list, which is fair enough. Like he has a real good place in like allowing you to be super aggressive with your Kingsguard. It means that you can take swords rather than have to take bags at some point in the game, and you can just like go out there with 8 attacks and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Like
wail on some guy.
He has to use those 4 wounds mean more in the Kingsguard than they do in almost anything else in the game. 5 wounds actually.
Only
right?
5, yeah.
5 wounds. Yeah.
Do you even know Lannisters? Anyway.
I don't know Tycho.
I'm just going to point out, though, Joffrey Baratheon has a 0% pick rate and a 0% win rate, obviously, when Joffrey is commander. So that means the site is working as intended.
Just about, yeah. Luckily, I'm pretty sure Mountain the Rides has the same Insider Gregor list, thankfully. So, you know. Yeah, that was one sanity check that I made myself.
I'm just checking.
So yeah, that's the builder. That's how it's working at the moment. I'm still working on showing you some more stats for easy-ish things, which is, you know, like what attachments go in where. But you know, if you want to see something, then don't be afraid to ask in any of the videos or on the Song of Ice and Fire Facebook group. Like, always listening to what people want, and then I just have to work out whether or not I can work out how to code it and how many days of my life it will take to do that, and whether or not I want it too. But normally, if you want it, I probably think that's a cool idea. I want that too.
Yeah, definitely. It's getting there. We've obviously still got a long way to go, and by we I mean mainly you. I really do very little, to be honest.
Yeah, Mickey takes somewhere around half of all the credit for all the things that get done on the website. For video, Mickey does more work than me on every one of these videos. Mickey has nothing to do with the actual website.
Hey, that's
nothing to do.
That's not
nothing
fully
to do
true.
with the website.
I went back and backdated some stats for you at some point.
You did. Mickey really helped with some of the grunt work on that. Yeah.
Without me, you'd have no advertising, which is why the site's terrible and you never get any views on videos because my advertising's terrible.
Yeah.
Anyway, is there anything else you want to talk about? The fact that Tywin's at -95 and the fact that the good old High Sparrow's at 113
yeah, you know what?
now?
I mean, you're looking at the commander rankings there. You've been showing them for a little while. I had a little browse of them the other day. I haven't been looking at their ELO quite so much recently myself. It is super interesting. So High Sparrow's managed to take #1 spot again. But what we see High Sparrow, NCU commander. Howland, NCU commander. Courtney Penrose, NCU commander. Joffrey, commander who brings very powerful unit for less cost with a VP cost added to him.
Yep.
Incredibly powerful. Also can be considered an similar-ish effect to the way that Rickon works, who is also incredibly powerful and chosen all the time. So that's basically Rickon in commander form. Right up there. Then we see Rob brings an attachment with him. So that's a commander who brings an activation too. Then we finally see Tyrion, who is the king of activation control.
Yep.
And then we see Harmer, who is the highest rated free folk commander in a faction that can't take NCU commanders. So like this first 7 are all commanders that are entirely about activation control, and they are all the highest rated. When we go down to the bottom, what we see is a ton of defensive commanders.
Well, you say
defensive commanders, when played at a high level, can be played around. You can't force your opponent to walk into your defense. And so they just don't get that high use. We see Tywin, off the top of my head, we probably see Brynden. I think we see Stannis in there.
Yeah, so we've got Tywin who's bottom.
Renly has improved. Renly charismatic air has jumped up quite a bit.
Yeah.
But you know, it's a very there's a very straightforward answer, which is activation control and control in general. You'll also have a look, if you have a look in the list advice thing, for almost every faction, the highest win rate NCU is nearly always Walder.
Or Varys.
After that, nearly always Varys, right? Like those two control pieces, yes, you could say that they as individuals are overpowered, but actually what is overpowered in the game right now is control, not control of different types, and high activation count is one of the strongest forms of control. It's not a form of aggression, it's a form of control, because you basically force your opponent to show their entire hand before you do anything.
Well, going back to my TSL game, actually, I noticed that my opponent had 5 combat units, 2 NCUs, 7 activations. My free folk list had 8 combat units and 3 NCUs, 11 activations. Now, admittedly, one of them isn't on the board to start the game. I held my Spearwise off with Jarl. My point being, even at the very start of the game where I've got 10 activations, I've got 3 more than him. I can wait till he's completely out of activations and then just march directly at his face. He can't do anything. Literally can't do anything. Is that skill? Not really. In the nicest possible sense, it's skill in list building, maybe.
It's an understanding of the way the game works. It's an understanding of the meta, but it's not really testing the players as skillful individuals and making like really difficult decisions, because there's no difficult decisions. You just say, okay, I pick this unit and I pass, and I pick this unit and I pass, and I pick this unit and I move a little bit, and then this one, and oh, you got nothing left? Okay, now I'll do some useful stuff. That's, you know, like, I don't want to naysay that, like, oh, the game isn't crap at all. Like, the game is still one on the table, still very skillful, still all those things. It's just interesting that control is the meta right now. And I like control. I play control lists. I think they do need to be tempered down a bit. I think NCU commanders need to be tempered down by their value against their value against on-field commanders. You know, I just played Fire and Blood and I picked an NCU commander, even though the on-field commander has tons of advantages, just because I was like, the extra activation is worth more than whatever on-field abilities you have. The extra activation is worth more than extra VPs, because I will win the game by other means. And I think other than that, the extremely high activation lists need to be removed from being able to be fielded in that way. However that is, you're probably going to have to increase the cost of things. Like, I think that Raiders should go up in cost. Not that doesn't mean they need something else. They need something while they become, but they can't stay at 3. I think they need to go to 4. I'm not telling you what they need to get to go to 4. I don't know. But staying at 3 means that the faction always plays around 10 activations, which is leading the race for other people to have to try and keep up, and forcing other people into playing NCUs.
I will say, I think you can probably leave Raiders where they are, probably at 3 points, because I think activation advantage for free folk is not as much of an issue as it is for other factions in the same way.
That's true.
But I think you need to tone Raiders down. I actually think you need to actually lower their stats. You could probably keep them at 12 wounds. You could probably lower their dice to 4 dice, and I still think I would take them as exactly.
I think they got
almost
a
copied my list exactly.
Buff when the panic changes came around.
Definitely.
And you massively limited the amount of damage that they can take from panic, and they're still not easy to one-shot. Whereas before, it used to be like a panic check could just take 6, 7 of them off the board, and so, you know, anybody can do 6 damage on the attack and then another 6 on the wounds. But now you have to be doing 9 damage on the attack to be able to like remove a unit.
Yeah. There are a couple of 7 activation free folk lists, and actually I was looking at this the other day. 7 activation lists are good. 10 activations are good. But obviously the 7 and 6s that we see there have got a very low popularity, so very low pick rate. We might see that change. You see,
so that's not off a high number of results. There are only a few 7s, but we'll see how it goes to the tournament.
Yeah.
But hey, we've just wandered into random kind of meta musings now.
that's what we're here for, you know, and it impacts
Yep.
tournaments. So, yes, it's 8 o'clock. We've managed to take up those extra 15 minutes that we had. And as you can see, my tournament list is being slow. My computer's having enough. That is pretty much it. We haven't seen any major new tournaments come about. We've got an event in Australia and an event in Italy, but they're not till mid-September or late September. I think most of the other events that we've talked about before, we've seen before.
Yeah.
I think there might be a Spanish event. Oh, by Rhaegar.
Yep.
Oh, right, cool.
Yeah. There's a few tournaments popping up. If you're running those tournaments, feel free to talk to us, talk to me. We're more than happy to stick a banner up for you on the first page. Physical tournaments, probably most people aren't going to find their news about your physical tournament through the Tourney Ground, through going on a Song of Ice and Fire Stats front page. But your TTS event, we might be able to help find you some more people. I hope Wolves Howling is the big one at the moment. It's got 1 week till sign up. Go along. Like people have said, it's knockout format, so you're really not making a big commitment. You can just go out in the first round, and that's your tournament over. And if you make it 3-4 weeks in, if you commit 3-4 weeks to the tournament, then you're probably looking at winning this thing, and you're looking at getting yourself a nice big prize. So give it a go.
Definitely.
Sign up. Make it a nice big competitive event.
Definitely. All right, guys. We'll end it there for another week. Are we back next week, Carlo?
Yeah.
Yeah, we are.
I'm around.
Cool. We'll be back again next week, guys. Same time, same place. We'll give you some more updates on the TSL and anything else that we see happens between now and then. Thanks a lot for tuning in. As always, you know, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Use the stats site. Keep using it. You know, advertise it where you can. I say advertise, but, you know, send it to your friends. Get them using the site. Use the builder. Be nice to us. Don't shout at us too much. And yeah, we'll catch you.
I mean, we're
next
not
week.
nice to other people, so you know.
Oh, we won't catch you. We won't catch people next week. Actually, will we, Carlo?
Will we not?
We won't. We'll catch people later this week. Mini announcement Friday. I think 4 o'clock GMT +1. We've got a stream that we're doing of another TSL game. We're going to stream Furyoku, right? Furyoku's game from Team Poof, playing someone. I can't remember.
I recognise the name. Francesco BR.
Oh,
Francesco BR from I forget what team he's from.
Yeah. But we're going to be streaming that game as part of the whole TSL coverage and content stuff for that. So we'll catch you over the NRG stream, the NRG Twitch channel for that stream, and you know we'll be there with some bants and some scathing comments about Furyoku.
Yeah.
As always.
Throwing absolute shade and shit at people's play while, you know, never letting people watch us play and also throw shade and shit back at us.
Yes, correct. And obviously be there with some Humble Onion Smugglers banners. Because what else are we if not memers? Right, okay. Yep. So we might catch some of you on Friday. If not, we'll catch you next Monday, guys. Have a great week. Thanks a lot for coming down. Catch you later.